Oh my god. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co host, Brian, and always joining us for these morning shows is your co host, Spaz.
Hello.
And not enough caffeine for today. Folks, we're doing a morning show. It is 6 a.m. here. We usually stream at 6 a.m., but doing an interview is different from doing a stream. So it's kind of a different version of being on, But we have three guests today, and they're all from, okay, here we go. Breda, in the Netherlands. I hope I said that at least close to right. Joining us from there in the Netherlands is Jimmy Vanderberg.
Yes, good morning.
Joost Muhlenkamp. Was that close?
Good morning.
Was that close?
It's close enough. It's
okay,
yours, but it's fine.
Oh god damn it! I really tried. And Paul Mertens. Here to talk about here back for their I think their second time to talk about Interstellar Rift, which if you follow the YouTube channel, I did a bunch of videos on. It just went out of early access a few weeks ago, I think. 2 or 3 weeks ago as we record this. Roughly.
Yeah, the 24th.
Yeah, so, about 2 weeks ago. So, folks, if you're not familiar with what Interstellar Rift is, it's a lot of things. It's a space flight sim, but it's also a shipbuilding game, and it's also a crafting game, and it's also a mining game, and it's also a combat game, and it's also a hauling game, and it does a lot of things. The nice thing about it, unlike other games, is it does all these things well. If you've watched my videos, you know how much I enjoy the game. And so, gentlemen, first I want to congratulate you on a successful run up to 1.0, because, not every game makes it that far. So
yeah, thank you.
It's taken us long enough, so.
And you guys did a ton of updates during your early access period, like a ton. Like, do you know how many updates you made during early access? It was in the dozens at least, right?
I think it was actually in the hundreds.
Yeah, well, it depends. Major updates, there's been 60 or 70 maybe.
But
more.
Actual patches, I think it was like 150 or something. It was
damn.
Yeah, it was a lot. We basically built most of the game in early access, so.
Yeah.
Kind of unfair to have hot fixes and stuff, though.
but it was amazing because a lot of people have a wariness of early access, which is not unfounded. It's a lot of games have burnt them out of early access because a lot of games didn't get finished. There are a lot of games that are like, hey, we're 1.0 now. It's like, wait a minute, you were alpha last week. How are you 1.0 now? This actually happened last month. There was a game, I won't say which, but it was like 1 week it was alpha, the next, hey, we're 1.0. We're like, what? Wait a minute. How? How do you go from alpha to... No, anyway. But you guys had a long trek, and that could also turn people off because people are like, oh, this game's never going to be finished. It's taking too long, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed on your Steam community and in the comments of your patches and whatnot that for the most part, your community was very positive. So, that was great to see.
Oh, yeah, we think we've had pretty good responses to the 1.0 release. We were afraid of a lot of people saying this is not... you've been in early access for so long and this is the release, but what really changed? So that's why we took 6 months or something to really work up to the final 1.0 patch to make sure that we have content in there. Because we've seen all the other games as well, and we didn't want to go because we've been in alpha since 2015, I believe, and then we went to beta in 2018. So there's been these periods of time where we locked in certain features or other things. But we wanted there to be a big day one patch for the 1.0 release, so people don't feel cheated that we just released the game from early access. Because some people still probably think that, but we at least wanted to be ahead of that a little bit.
I don't see how, because I played quite a bit of it in early access because I really enjoy the trucking. I really enjoy the hauling. But I'll say you guys made combat a lot better since last I played, which I really enjoyed the combat. I was surprised by that because a lot of games, when they try and do like a lot of different things, like one thing is great and then like the rest is not. Like I won't say which game it is, but there's one game out there that like works so hard on being this business simulator that the combat is like pew pew done. Like, okay, that was empty and pointless. But the combat in your game actually feels pretty good, which is great. And I love the tutorials. Eight tutorials that take about an hour to do, I think, roughly.
Yeah,
we've had
with games.
Yeah,
you'll probably be quicker than new players.
Yeah, we've had to play through them a couple of times to test them, so we're up to like 30 minutes maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah. You guys are proud of them. But one thing I have to give you guys credit for before we really dive in is I'm not a big fan of crafting games. I'm not a big fan of games where you have to collect resources and whatnot. I'm not the biggest fan because I don't have a lot of patience. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't have a lot of patience. But the way you guys handle like cargo and materials and whatnot is just so efficient and almost effortless. Like I just love how it's a little cube you can hold and you put it on a cargo pad and you beam it to your ship. It's just but then you put it in this machine that gives you armor. You put it in your life support system. It all just makes sense, you know. And so I really have to congratulate you guys on even getting someone who doesn't like crafting and building and whatnot like me on board.
Yeah, we when we looked at different ways to craft and to build things in a game, first of all, we didn't want the ship to be built when you're playing the game. We wanted it to be a separate thing because we want you to like think about the game and then build your ship and then have it be in space and you won't be able to change it anymore. It's like you can't build your car when you're on the road.
That's a good point.
And the crafting and the cargo and the collecting of resources, we wanted to be very quick. So we didn't want you to have to mine for a certain resource for hours on end and stuff like that. So we also give you different paths. You could just buy the resources or
except for the really rare ones.
Yeah, of course. But we didn't want it to be a thing where you are constantly waiting for timers or stuff like that. We wanted it to be pretty snappy so you can focus on playing with your ship.
At the very least, we didn't want the timers to be blocking, you know? Because in a lot of games you have to like aim a mining laser at a rock or something and just wait. But we were like, okay, we understand that there sometimes need to be like a timer so you don't get things instantly. It's a little bit more rewarding if it takes a while. But we don't understand why you as a player have to be blocked while that timer is ticking down. So when you look at the extractors and the refinery, we made it so that you can do something else while that thing is doing its thing, and then you can try to make things as efficient as you want.
Yeah, and we wanted to have the cargo crates like in world, so that they're not just a number on a screen or whatever.
It's always so much more rewarding if you can touch something, right? If you can see.
Yeah, if you have like a whole room filled with boxes.
Yeah, I love that.
For, like the UIs.
Yeah, I love that. It gives it a tangibleness. Is that even a word? But it makes it tangible, where it's not just a number on a screen, but you see the crates, which is really great. And I'm gonna admit, I'm one of those guys that do love flying up to an asteroid and pointing a mining laser at it. I love that. I can't get enough of that. In Jumpgate, that's what I spent thousands of hours doing, and I still do it today. But the way you guys do mining, I really have to admit I like a lot, where I've never seen another game do this, where instead of going out in a ship to mine and point a laser at it, well, you can, but you can also beam the asteroid into to like an aquarium, and then you have this big like arm that goes around and pulls out its resources, which I've never seen in any other game. I really like that. I have to admit,
I haven't seen that either in another game. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
whose idea it was
I
actually.
think it's
but-
actually one of our most requested features to just add a mining laser as well for people.
Really?
To,
Well,
Yeah.
by certain players. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, but
Huh.
I mean, everybody has their own ideas, of course.
Yeah. Were there ideas that some people had that you implemented into the game?
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, many.
Plenty.
It's hard to think of a single feature because it's usually a lot of quality of life things that people think of.
Right.
Like being able to transfer certain resources in a certain way and stuff like that. A lot of automation things came from players. We originally didn't even plan on putting automation into the game, but a lot of players wanted to play on their own instead of with a group. So we accounted for that by building machines that can automate some tasks and stuff like that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm a single player myself, even though it's great that this game is multiplayer as well. How many people can a server hold?
Ours are at
Depends on your
32
server hardware.
Oh,
at the
okay.
moment. It can probably scale a little bit higher, depending. It's dependent on so many factors, because the server has to simulate the galaxy, and the galaxy can be 500 star systems, but it can also be 2-star systems. So it kind
Wow.
of depends on how that
Yeah,
works.
and each of these star systems runs in its own separate process, so it's complicated.
The thing about it, the reason why we build it like this is because the way it scales now is that it scales on the number of players and not the amount of stuff in space when it comes to like a network architecture, right? So if you're with 2 players on one server or on one ship, it doesn't matter if there's like one asteroid or like or if you're in a battle with a whole bunch of enemies and bullets flying everywhere when it comes to networking. So we can scale that up pretty high.
That's
and
pretty
simulate
cool.
it accurately.
Yeah, the thing
Now-
we looked at the beginning is that people probably want to build a lot of ships, and we didn't run into the issue that the server would be bogged down because there would be too many ships that people spawn. We wanted it to be free to have a lot of ships in the server, but of course, when there's multiple players in different systems, then of course it gets a little bit tougher. But as long as you are just in one system and you're building ships, that should be completely fine. So that's kind of how it scales.
Yeah, I haven't tried multiplayer yet. I'm much more of a single player guy, but I do have to admit that even in single player, the universe felt really alive. Like there were other ships doing other things and whatnot, which was really cool.
There's a whole bunch of players who play single player on the multiplayer server, right? So they just join the multiplayer server and then they just do their own thing.
Wait, say
Yeah.
again?
Oh, he's saying that a lot of people just join multiplayer servers and just play on their own. So it's kind of like an online single player game.
Oh, I guess you can do that, huh? Because you don't really have to play with other people, even though there are other people around, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can do what you want.
That's true. And I really like how the solar systems are generated with all the different like stations and asteroid fields. It's a very lively place. I've only basically spent time in one system, but there's a lot to do just in one system. And I kind of really like how going to another system is a huge deal in this game. It's not just, oh, you just need some jump fuel.
Well, you don't need jump fuel, but
Right. But a lot of games, like, you just need some jump fuel and then fly through a gate and you're done. But here, it's like you need a bunch of stuff. You need a key and specific materials, and then you need to build.
depending on which, yeah.
But it's a multi-step
depends on-
process. Right, but it's a
Yeah.
multi-step process. It's not just fly through a jump gate and you're there. Another thing
You
I
have to
really
make the jump gate first.
Yeah, you basically make the jump gate, which I think is great. And I really I think my favorite thing about the game though is is when you're flying, you have this like shift mechanic when you warp up and down to try and really get a precise like to try and arrive precisely where you want to go. And I really like how active that is. You really have to pay attention. You can't just You can't just point,
Yeah.
aim, and go. I really like that. I really like
Yeah,
that a lot.
We looked at different games and how they solved this issue of traveling like fast distances in within a star system, so from the sun to the nearest planet and stuff like that. And we didn't want it to be a waiting game where the ship kind of gets faster and faster and faster and slows down again. And we also didn't want it to be instantaneous, so that you just target the planet and you're there, and it just warps you there. So we have this kind of intermediate system where you can, like a gearbox in a car, you can shift up and shift down your warp speeds. Really quickly. So if you're really good at the game, which we aren't, we always, at least I'm not speaking for you, but I always overshoot my targets. So, but it's something you can learn while playing the game to get better at.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying getting better at, like, I think the closest I've gotten is like 1.7 kilometers, and that I was really
pretty good. Yeah.
I was really proud of that. I was really proud of that. It was like right there. I was like,
I've also seen people who are a bit too good at it, and they drop out of warp right in the middle of the other station, and they damage it instantly.
Oh no! Oh, you can't. If Jumpgate, I'm gonna probably bring up Jumpgate a lot because there's some comparisons in my mind. But if Jumpgate has taught me anything, is that you never point directly at a thing. Never. You never point.
Generally a good idea when you're in a moving vehicle.
Exactly. You like point just a little off to the side of the station you're trying to land at. Just a little bit. Because you don't want to hit it.
Yeah.
Besides, if you're not careful, you might go to plaid.
Oh,
yeah.
Go to plaid. Streamlock, what is your hand doing? So, I did want to talk about that. He asked what your hand was doing because earlier, like, I got a reward, and so my hand was just getting all the things. It's kind of interesting. So in this game, like, the way you move crates around is like, am I thinking this correctly? Like, they get miniaturized, so you can like hold a representation of them in your hand, and then you can put them on a cargo thing, or then you can put them in a machine.
Yeah,
they get digitized, sort of.
Demolecularized, or there's not really a name for it in the game, but it just zaps them, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
They become kind of data representations of the. So, like, we have small items like tools and weapons. They are just on your person, and you can pick them up. But larger items like crates and stuff, they kind of get beamed up into your like ARM computer.
Yeah, and it only holds like 8 crates. So 10. Yeah, sorry, you're right.
But it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like a hard drive, and the hard drive only has so much space, so you can only hold so much cargo in your little USB drive or whatever it is.
We wanted it to be just a little bit of in-world. So, like in Minecraft, you can carry around like hundreds of tons of earth. It's not really realistic, but everybody overlooks it, and we wanted to be a little bit integrated into the.
Well, that's one thing you've done.
Everything is cubes, right?
Well, that's one thing you've done really well, though, is that pretty much everything is in game, is in world, from the interface on your little wrist computer to the crates. Like, everything is in game, so like really nothing breaks the illusion. Which,
we've taken care to put as much of the screens that you're interacting with and everything in game itself. There's a couple of things like the health bar and the inventory that are like on your HUD, but we try to keep it at a minimum. So
yeah, but even that you can. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say stuff like bullets in a weapon. We do it like I think it was Dead Space which first did this, where it's just a display on your gun, and the battery from your ARM computer is an actual battery on your ARM. There's a couple of things like the HUD which we wanted to do on the visor of your helmet, but it's not really that well explained. But the most of the stuff is in game because we want it to be every button you should be able to click that button, and not just. It shouldn't just be like a button for show,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to say, it works great. It really puts you in the world, and it makes you more attached to it. I think, which works really well. Like it makes you more attached to this world, and you just want to spend more time in it because, there's a physical representation of this gun that I just won, or this key and so it makes being in the world much more meaningful, I think, and it makes it more important, which I like. It's not just like it's not just some kind of static screen where you have I have 3,000 of this, and that's really you actually have things. And I really like how you can like easily put things into vaults, so you're not like, oh, my inventory is full, but it won't be full for long. You can just run to a vault. It doesn't take long.
Unless your vault is full too. But yeah.
Yeah, but you can upgrade that, right? Can't you upgrade your vault?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can. We were looking at other games, and usually you have like an inventory, and it has dozens of slots, and they're all filled up with hundreds of items. And we wanted to somehow not have that, but you have a very limited inventory, but somehow you don't feel like you're really that limited by your inventory. So I think that works in the game really well with all the cargo spaces you can put things on and the vaults where you can place things in.
Yeah,
you're never really that constrained by your inventory.
Yeah, the only time I felt really limited is in the combat ship you get when you start on a combat career. And it has a lot less cargo space than the hauler or the miner that you get with the other starter careers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So it's like your ship is more or less your character, and if it doesn't have a big inventory on the ship, you don't have much space to put things.
Exactly.
But you can modify it.
Right. I've not gotten to the shipbuilding yet. I'm not much of a builder myself. I don't really have the patience for it. I'm not very good at it. So I usually don't build ships in games. That's what I was gonna say. I really appreciate that you can just buy them. I really appreciate.
Yeah. Also, if you're playing multiplayer, other players can sell ships to you as well.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the release features. There's like a whole new. You probably have seen that the thing where you can buy your ship, that really big holo representation thing.
Yeah,
you can also sell ships over there.
What?
Yeah,
okay,
there can be player ships in there.
And then other players can buy it.
Wow. Yeah, okay, that's pretty great. That's pretty great.
Yeah. So.
But
yeah,
I mean,
of course, if you don't like designing ships, there's always the workshop from Steam. So
yeah, there are a lot of great ships in the workshop, which is really nice. Yeah, and again, I just have to appreciate how efficient you've made this. Like, I never like with a game like this, I feel like a lot of games waste my time. Like, especially like I can't play Minecraft and games like that because it's like I'm doing what now? Wait, I okay. Why am I doing this? Okay, I need to do. It's just I need goal. Personally, for me, I need goals, which is why I love that you guys have missions. But right. I really appreciate that. But I also need to not have my time wasted, and the fact that you guys make handling cargo, filling up your ship, and everything so efficient really makes me feel like you guys respect my time as a player.
Yeah. We try to. I mean, we don't have that much time either, so
right.
We gotta develop the game, right?
Right, but you guys have done so much, like a lot of games, like to pad things out, they'll make the stations huge, so you have to really run around, and stuff like that. But even that you guys didn't do. Like the biggest station I've seen is just not that huge, so you're not going to spend a lot of time running around.
No, we didn't want players to get lost on stations for no reason. That just makes no sense.
It's also just a thing of how many devices do we need on the ship to make it operational, and how much stuff do we need to put on there. Well, that's the size of the station, I guess. All the extra stuff. Usually they have like an observatory or something like that, but it's not like we need to space it out with all these rooms that don't actually add anything to it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a couple of really big derelict ships that you can encounter where you'll probably get lost and have to run around a little.
There are derelicts you can find?
Yeah.
Yeah, Whoa. When you get, I'm not sure how far you got into the game, but later if you go to the higher tier systems, there's like derelict stations and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. They're pretty hard to find, but when you do find one.
You have to press the scanner thing button in the cockpit, then select one of the signatures, and then you chase down the signatures.
Oh my god, I didn't even know there was like exploration in this game. I had no. Damn, I gotta play more.
Oh, we do,
I'm still.
do plan to add more exploration stuff, but
Oh my
there's
God.
a couple of there.
Because I'm still level 1. I haven't figured out which career, like when you start, you guys, they give you 4 career paths basically, 3 for newbies like myself, and then there's the 4th, which is kind of a hardcore kind of pirate scavenger faction.
Where you don't get a starter ship, you need to build one yourself, so you get a couple of resources to build one. So it's a bit more advanced.
Yeah, especially for players who know how to construct the ships, because the shipbuilding can get pretty advanced.
Right.
And we provide a couple of ships which are done, so you can just boot them up or just spawn them in the game and just load them up with fuel, and they'll just work.
Yeah,
but there's also ships that, which you probably did, right? So
yeah, that's exactly what I did, because again, I don't care to build. But yeah, folks, so there's the miner, there's like the miner company, and then there's the hauler company, and then there's the combat company. And they all play differently, which is really great. I really love how they do actually play differently, because like you could have had the miner and the hauler be like so similar. You know, they could have been like, why would I choose one over the other? But they actually, their missions are different. Their ships are very different. So you guys did a really great job making the 3 starting careers very distinct. And I haven't decided which one I like best, to be perfectly honest.
You can do both if you want. I mean, you can just fly to the other guy's system, take missions there, and so no one's stopping you from that. But that's
you can do that. You can. I didn't know you could. Oh my god, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, all starter systems are like one jump away from each other.
Oh my god, I did not know that at all. So you could fly. I could fly to a different. Like if I started as a combat guy and then I wanted to do like missions for the haulers, I could just go do that. Oh, that's okay. I didn't know that. That's like I don't know why I would
just go to do a station of theirs in a different system. So if you start at the combat faction and you find like a GTA station, then you can take trade missions over there.
Okay, that's great. And I have to say, I really do like the missions. You guys have a decent variety of missions, varying from combat to. Usually, I don't like timed missions, but the time limits you put on these are not so bad, so they don't stress me out. You know, like I've only done a few.
15 minutes, I think. What's the timer?
No, I think they can be quicker. There can be a couple which are like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Depends
I did
on
one.
How far you have to travel.
I did one that was 7 minutes the other day. I think it was like 7 or 8 minutes, and I did it with like 2 minutes to spare, but it paid out really nicely.
Yeah, it calculates a timer based on the distance that the station is away, the target station.
So yeah, I'm just kind of amazed at how well everything works. Like usually with the games that have a lot of moving parts like this, there's something that gets sacrificed. There's something that's not as good as the other parts. But here the flying is good, the cargo is good, the mining is like, what would you say is the thing you had the biggest challenge with in developing this game? Like what part of the game would you say was the biggest challenge?
All of the multiplayer, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just because what we wanted for the multiplayer. Usually, what you do in multiplayer is you have your system and it's pretty static, so nothing moves. Asteroid fields are static asteroids, and we wanted moving asteroids in all the fields. We wanted hundreds of ships and being able to support hundreds of ships and drones flying resources from station to station and stuff like that. But we didn't want to host the servers ourselves because we're just an indie company and we can't really have like MMO servers up anywhere. So people would have to host these servers themselves, and we could host a couple for them. So everybody would need to be able to host this on this his home PC, and it would just have to work if you have like 10 people in your server. So that's definitely the biggest challenge. So we had to take that into account really from the start.
Yeah.
And then it's just a question of bringing all these systems together, because for a long time, people just would start at the same station and they would be very lost. So just giving people objectives to do. And that's something we're still struggling with for a bit, because a lot of people, as you said, you like objectives, but you found the objectives, but some people don't even, they're like, I just spawn on the station and what do? There's all these options, or I don't even realize there's all these options.
So we need to make
guide me through the game a little bit better. So
clearer.
that's something we're always struggling with, because it's fairly complex, I would say.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. For me, I had no problems following your. I mean, you have the 8 tutorials, which are separate from the actual game, which is really nice. They're really well done.
Yeah.
But even the objectives in the game, they were pretty clear, I thought. But I don't know,
but you're the space game junkie, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
like
suppose.
You're like the veteran player. So.
I suppose.
For like people who don't play these kinds of games, it can be a bit overwhelming.
I guess that's fair.
Some feedback we had on the release as well, and we will be looking into making stuff a little more clear on some things, or some things don't work as nicely as they should.
Yeah, Streamlocked in the chat is wondering which engine you guys are using for this game. That's a very good question.
Oh, that's another thing that was really, really difficult.
Oh yeah. It's our own engine, actually. It's called Luna.
Yes.
We developed with the game, I guess.
Yes. We started the engine work in 2012, or a little bit earlier, maybe, because it was also used for another prototype game that we never really finished. And then we started building this game, and we had to switch the engine completely, I believe, because first we had an engine where we could think we could do it in, but then it turned out it would be a huge hassle. But back then, in 2013, 2012, Unity wasn't really a thing, and Unreal, there was Unreal 3, but that didn't really have the option to go like large open spaces and stuff like that. So we decided to build our own engine for it, which has a lot of custom things specifically for this game. And I would probably say that was probably a mistake, looking back on it.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it was a mistake, because your engine has a very distinct look to it. I'm sorry to interrupt, but your engine has a very distinct look to it, which I think is fairly unique. And it lets you do all the things you want.
Yeah, I mean, but it just took.
Not all the things.
We're always debating, but could it have been quicker if we just had gone with a pre-existing solution? But in the end, I think that, at least for the first couple of years of development, building our own engine was definitely the right call. Looking back now, there's so many options that we'd probably never do it again. But
when you started, there weren't. I mean, there were the options, but they weren't as fleshed out as they are today. You know.
No.
So.
Yeah. So we just continued with the engine that we were building in.
It does a lot of really weird stuff. So other engines wouldn't support. Because you probably never realized, but your ship doesn't actually move. So.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's why the physics engine actually works on the ship, because a lot of these games they move the ship, and when you move the ship, you move the physical world, and then you start twitching through the floor or whatever. And we actually move the galaxy around the ship.
What?
So your ship stays. Yeah, you don't see that. That's an illusion. But
why did you tell me that?
That's how it technically works.
But then again, other ships do move. So if you look out of the window and you see the asteroids move, and you see the ships move, they are actually moving. Well. And the exterior of your ship is also actually moving, but the interior of your ship is not moving.
Yeah, so it's complicated.
It's kind of a magic trick.
Oh my god.
It's developer magic.
No, that is amazing, because there are so many games like I'll mention it, Star Citizen. The last time I played that, I was playing with another guy, and we were on a cargo ship. Yeah, and he just fell through the floor. Like, we were at warp speed or whatever, and he fell through the floor, and like, wow, he's millions of kilometers behind me now. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, in their defense, it's a really hard problem to tackle.
Right.
Moving things. And I think the only game I've seen it done really well was Sea of Thieves, where you have the moving pirate ships and stuff, and that works
we have
Really,
been
really
Move a
well.
lot slower.
Yeah.
That's,
we've been obsessed lately with Sea of Thieves. Like
Many hours recently.
Yeah, like how
Many
like,
hours.
I was not able to play with you guys on Saturday, but you guys played for 8 hours straight. Am I?
Yeah.
That's
On Saturday,
amazing.
yes.
That's
what happens,
amazing.
right?
And if it tells
Yeah.
you anything about Star Wars Squadrons, y'all, none of them played Star Wars Squadrons that day. It was all Sea of Thieves. I'm really not.
It's pirates. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
But yeah,
Got
as
it.
I said,
Alright.
it's a really hard problem to tackle the moving thing, so we just didn't want to tackle it at all as an indie studio.
no, that makes sense because the ships has all not only does the ship have all of its parts and machinery, but you have all the crates and everything on your ship as well. That's a lot of things to try and move around at once.
so that's also why you can't go outside of the ship. I mean, it's one of the reasons. There's not really an airlock to go outside of your ship because it's a different game world. Actually, it's sort of 2 games in one.
So wait, the inside of your ship is a separate world from the
Yeah.
outside of your ship?
Yeah, it is.
It splits exactly at where the ship goes from inside to outside.
It's actually
and
different
windows are
rendered as
really,
well.
really tricky to do. So that's why there's only a very limited set of windows that you can build.
Well, you
It's,
can explain
it's a
that
bunch
in
of
the
magic
game.
tricks.
You can explain that in the game as well. Like windows are really vulnerable, so why have a lot of windows? That's a real vulnerable spot. In a way that makes sense. Like when you see more realistic spaceships, in movies and whatnot, they don't have a ton of windows. Like I don't know. Like sure you have like
Don't even have.
what was that?
Like ships like in the Expanse and stuff. Don't even
Yeah,
have
exactly.
windows.
They don't have a ton of windows. Like, sure, you have the Enterprise and stuff, and it's all pretty and crap. But like that, those are like Hunter says, they're a real structural weakness. Like, I really did enjoy the newer Star Trek movies. Well, 2 of them, but the fact that the bridge just has a giant piece of freaking glass in the front of it, like
But I
what
think it
the
has, like,
hell?
force fields
No.
and stuff.
Like what was that?
I think it has like force fields and stuff. They
Yeah,
have
but
solutions for
still.
everything.
what's your
Still.
force field is low. Don't they need to lower their force field in order to teleport to be
No,
more?
that's just
Yeah.
the shield, but the windows have force fields as well. I think.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Transparent
Yeah, there's-
aluminum. Yeah, whatever. It's just so whatever.
That's actually a thing.
No, I know.
transparent
They
aluminum.
I know. They actually just developed it. That's great. But no, I honestly I have to like the beaming mechanic, which is how you get around all this. You're basically moving between instances. And
Yeah.
it works really well. You do that with the cargo. You beam the cargo. I love how you can beam cargo directly to your pads or to your fuel tank.
Yeah.
But you're basically moving things between instances, and it like if you think about it for a second, you're like, yeah, I'm moving between instances. But like from an in-game perspective, it just makes sense. Like I'm gonna beam over to my ship. Like I'm not gonna take a shuttle and fly around it. I'm gonna beam over.
Yeah, we have teleporter technology, so why not use it, right?
Yeah, and you use it all over the place, which is great. Like I thought Star Trek bridges were made of nothing but styrofoam girders. They're made of styrofoam girders, plastic, and lots of things that like sparks. Like lots of things that like
Pyrotechnic.
Man, exploding
Lots.
consoles.
yes, lots of exploding consoles, all kinds of firecrackers. All kinds of firecrackers are on the bridge.
I hate it when my computer crashes and then explodes.
I know, right? Like that's the worst. It is the worst when
Yeah.
like, and then the ceiling starts falling on you. It's like, oh no.
Hey, it's a selling point. Our bridges are made with 50% fewer squibs this time.
I always thought it
okay.
was funny that in Star Trek, when the ship starts to shake, the ceiling panels come down like it's some kind of office building in space.
I mean, it's for TV. They have to make it look interesting.
I know,
Get
but
it,
it's great and we all love it, but we all realize how
Yeah.
cheesy it is. Like,
Well, that's fine.
have you ever seen like footage of them shaking around, but the camera is still? So
Yeah.
it's
Hilarious.
the
It's funny.
funniest thing. It's the funniest damn thing. So Shogun wants a rundown of what this game is like. So basically, Shogun. It's kind of Space Engineers-y, but not really. It's much more streamlined and much more. There's an actual game here. There's an actual game here. It's not just build a thing and fly around. There's an actual game here. There are factions you can join. There are missions you can take. You can level up in those factions. And what happens when you level up in the factions? You get access to better systems?
You get access to higher tier systems where you get, of course, access to new materials, but that also unlocks new missions that you can go on. There's tougher and new kinds of enemies that will hack your ship or target your shields and stuff in particular. And then there's...
Or spawn stuff on your ship.
Yes, they will spawn stuff on your ship, which you'll have to deal with. And if you get very high tier, there's also like the Skrill Queen, which is like a huge boss that we've recently added, which will take you a while to take down.
Especially when you're
and that's basically where the game ends. So it's still a progression-based game where you build the biggest, baddest spaceship ever, and then you take on the enemy of the game. And that's where it kind of ends now with 1.0, but we've got some plans to extend that into much more late game stuff in the future.
Right. So yeah, basically, Shogun, you can build your own ships. I wouldn't call it Mountain Blade in space because it's not like you're commanding armies and stuff. But basically, like I said at the early part of the show, it's basically the closest thing I've seen to Euro Truck Sim in space. You're basically working, but instead of having a company, you work directly for a company, basically. And they're the ones that give you the missions, but you can level up in that company and whatnot. So you're basically, you could start off as a hauler, a miner, or a combat pilot. And depending on which of those factions you join, you get different missions. Like with the combat pilot, it was a lot of clear aliens around our little station over here, and whatnot. But with the hauler, it's like, get this cargo to this station within 7 minutes. And with a miner, it's like, oh, we need this much of Empyrean meets Evercron. That's not a bad way to put it, actually, because of the spaceship stuff and the mission stuff and the economy stuff. Because there is an economy in the game as well, right? It's not like a static. Yeah, it's not like a static.
No, there is drones and stuff ferrying cargo around, and the prices will adapt to what you're selling and buying and stuff like that.
Right. Because I remember I saw a mission the other day while I was being a hauler where it was like, all of our stations need hydrogen. Go find some. And the price for hydrogen at these stations was higher than I saw at the starter station.
Yes.
So...
the Star Station, I believe, has a fixed price depending on where you buy it for hydrogen, which is more expensive usually than some of the stations. But if there is high demand, then the price will go up.
But you could make your own hydrogen too with the mining and the refining.
Yeah, exactly.
Hydrogen is the most basic fuel. There's a couple of more improved fuel.
It's basically hydrogen. Then you've got some other fuels which you can refine with better resources, but they also, in the end, go into hydrogen generators. And then later on, you have nuclear reactors, which take a whole bunch of different resources to operate.
And then you have to worry about radiation and everything. So,
right. Oh, really? Now, speaking of dangerous things like radiation, I want to ask you guys a direct question. How do you put out fires?
With a fire extinguisher.
Okay, I couldn't find... my ship was on fire the other day. I could not, for the life of me, find a fire extinguisher.
There's a couple ways you can do it. You can also, of course, remove the oxygen from the room. So if you disable the vent with your grip, or you just use the repair gun's damage beam to just destroy it completely, and then keep the room closed for a while, the fire will eventually burn out as well.
Or you just take the oxygen out of the life support system. That also
that will also work if you take the oxygen out of the life support system.
But then, of
course, it will take a while before the oxygen is depleted. So
I was trying to figure that out because my ship was on fire, and I'm like, okay, how do I put this out? And I couldn't figure out how to, because I thought about the oxygen thing, but I couldn't figure out how to actually do that. So next time my ship hopefully well, I hope it doesn't catch
You
on
can
fire.
also
but-
make a fire extinguisher. There
Yes,
is one.
they're sold at every faction desk on every starter
Dear
station.
Lord, okay, I'm gonna have to buy a fire extinguisher just to have, basically.
Yeah, they're also really easy to make.
Okay, and
If you have a-
does that
if you have
does
a
that
3D printer,
does that use ammo like the repair gun as well?
Yes.
it uses, I believe it's hydrogen and carbon or something like that, or water and carbon. It's a very easy
Yeah,
recipe, but you
it's,
can also purchase it. It's really cheap. So
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And I didn't really do a lot of building, but is there a place in the game that that keeps track of all these recipes for things? Like, are they?
Yes.
Is it in?
on your
There's
if
an
you press tab
encyclopedia.
on your ARM computer in the
Oh.
it's the upper leftmost corner, I believe. There's the encyclopedia.
Purple
And
one.
it has the purple button, I believe. It has all the recipes in the game.
Oh,
Also
that's
the
pretty
recipes for
great.
every device, every tool, everything you
Tells you how to make stuff.
can build.
Okay, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Because
It's,
there's also 3D printing in the game where you could print a fire extinguisher, like you said.
yeah, fire extinguisher is indeed one of the things you can print.
Okay, I'm gonna have to remember next time before I ship out. I need to at least buy or make a fire extinguisher.
You can
how
also
dry is it
install sprinklers on your ship. Just saying, just putting it.
Wait, you can install sprinklers on your ship?
Yes.
Oh my god,
But you'll need a water tank as well, and
that's amazing. Can you install a bathroom? I haven't seen that. Can you install a toilet?
Yes.
Wait, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't work though. You cannot sit on it, but you can.
you
build
can open the
toilet
door.
and open the doors.
Okay, that's great. I thought the answer might be no, but that is great. We don't have enough games that actually have toilets in them, and I think I think even if you don't use the toilet, that should still be a thing.
Yeah, they're in there.
Excuse me. So no.
Well, there's teleporter technology for everything.
Oh, jeez, oh, damn. That's why a lot of people have always said there aren't bathrooms on the Enterprise and whatnot, because they just beam your poop out.
Well, they're offset. They're just around the corner from the set.
Nobody wants to see that scene. So.
Yeah, no one wants to see Riker go drop a deuce. No one wants to see how he sits on a toilet.
Yeah, I think it could be funny.
No, it could be.
If you do it right.
I will have to make sure before I ship out next time. Because I've been playing this on and off because I like logging in and doing a cargo run or a combat mission. And it's really nice because they don't take a ton of time, and there's actually good progression. And I like how the different missions have different rewards. So oh, I need metal for a thing. Well, let's find a mission that gives me metal. If I don't feel like mining, or this mission gives me ammo, along with money.
Yeah.
So I like how the mission rewards are varied. So depending on what you're what you want in that moment, you could find a mission that gives you what you need. So I really have to say I appreciate that because I'm a big mission guy. I love missions in games like this, and I really appreciate how many different types of missions you guys have.
Yeah, we're always looking at missions because people like missions, but they don't want to do missions which are too involved, right? They want it to be something that they can just quickly do, get some money. If it's a whole storyline, either you do have the time, because I've Sea of Thieves has these special legendary tales which you can do. It would take up an entire day. But they also have the small things which you can do on and off. And I think that most of the people would just like the small things to just continuously have options available to them.
In their credit too, those long ones, what are they called? Tall tales, I think. They have checkpoints.
Yeah.
They have checkpoints in
Really?
it. Yeah, so you get to a certain
Ever
point.
done one?
Yeah, once you hit a checkpoint, then you can leave the game at that point and then rebuild your crew and start over from the checkpoint.
But only the player that took the quest gets the checkpoint, or?
No, everybody gets that checkpoint because
okay.
if you have your crew, then everybody is at that point. You have the commendations up to that point. Then you can
Right,
vote
yeah,
to
we've only
restart
played
from
with-
that checkpoint.
Oh, so it's like
I've
any
only
other
played with the
quest.
same group of people. Yeah.
So it's like any
Okay,
other check.
cool.
It's like any other
Didn't know
quest
that.
where it's like I vote to start this checkpoint, basically.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. They're doing a lot right with that game. I got to tell you guys what they're doing a lot right with that game.
And we have to play more of it.
But
Yeah,
the best thing in the game is the music instruments.
Yes.
Oh my god, that we have wasted so much time just standing around playing
Yes.
instruments, watching the dog and the cat dance because it's so
Getting
goddamn
drunk
cute.
and getting drunk and playing the banjo or whatever it is.
Even in the maiden voyage, you can find the rowboat in it, and as soon as you sit in the rowboat, a rendition of "Row, Row, Row Your Boat" starts playing.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Oh my god! If we were pirate game junkie, we would totally have those games on, those guys on. Wow, can you imagine? So yeah, you're. I would say your game is kind of in the direction of a Space Sea of Thieves because it's multiplayer and whatnot.
Yeah, I think they all kind of stem from a sort of multiplayer FTL kind of thing where you have like a group of people on a vessel of any kind, a spaceship, I don't know, a train, a pirate boat, and you go onto adventures and do your quests and stuff in a world that's constantly changing and throwing things at you. Because you have the big shark in Sea of Thieves, which pops up from time to time, the Megalodon, and you have all of these things which are like dynamic stuff that makes the journeys interesting, and that's also what we kind of try to do in our game. It's just have things happen while you're on your journeys.
How hard is it to set up a server?
It's pretty
Depending
easy. The
on
only
your
thing you have to, yeah, the server
Some routers-
starting up the server is just one click of a button in the menu, but then you have to make sure that your ports are forwarded, of course. We are looking
Some routers
into
do this automatically, most of them, but
Yes.
some are a bit
we're still
more
looking
problematic.
at implementing the Steam join in some way. It's a little bit harder.
Hey Hunter,
for
it's
us.
got servers. It's got multiplayer. Hunter, hint hint. It's got servers. We're trying
We're
to
also
set up.
hosting a couple of them.
Well, we're trying to set up for our community our own servers for some games. Like we have. Okay, you're on it. I didn't know. We're trying to set up some servers for our own games. Like I think we have one for Empyrean right now, and we have one for Void Expanse. So yeah, we have a couple going so far, and it's really great for the community. So I think getting this into the community would be also great because there's a lot of gameplay here. And how many you could have multiple people on one ship. Like I saw that some ships have 2 seats, some ships have 3 seats. So that's pretty great. And I guess again, because the inside doesn't move, it's probably easy to keep the players together.
Yeah,
Yes.
you could just walk
Yeah,
around.
there's all kinds of stuff, especially if you have larger ships later on, where you have the bridge, which I think seats 4. One guy can do the weapons, one guy can do the maneuvering of the ship. You need people running around to fixing and repairing stuff all the time. There might be fires and stuff like that. So there's plenty of
great.
stuff that can happen when you're in it with a team. And of course, it kind of scales on how big your ship is, how many people you need. So if you have a small ship, you can do the extinguishing of all the fires and the repairing of all the devices by yourself. But as soon as you get a little bit bigger, it starts to get a little bit more difficult. And there's things to automate, like I said, with the sprinklers you can install and stuff like that. But yeah, of course, it's most fun if you have a couple of people and you're going into a fight.
We're gonna have to get on this at some point, and no rush, Hunter. I'm not pressuring you, Hunter. I'm saying we're gonna have to give this a whirl in multiplayer. But again, as a single player guy, I have to say again, I really appreciate that there's an option to play like purely in your own little universe. I really do appreciate that.
I think that's where we got the most player feedback as well, because a lot of people, we originally just built it as a multiplayer game, but more and more people were like, I don't really like to play multiplayer, but I really like the look of this game. So we added more and more stuff to help single player people as well, without hopefully compromising on multiplayer features.
How many? Do you know how many servers are running right now? I haven't looked, but it looks like at least a dozen or so.
I think
I'm not
like
sure.
100 or something.
Wow,
Just after release. It's a lot of them. Have you ever
a
scrolled
lot.
down the list?
I haven't scrolled down the list. Yes.
It's several pages now.
So did the release go well? Was it pretty seamless? Did it help with sales? Like, how did the release go?
We didn't have to patch the same day as the release, which is always good.
That is nice. That is nice.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, you never want to read about a day one patch because you're like, oh no.
But we never really had that many multiplayer players, so a lot of things that we are working on are server related. I think single player, we don't have to make any changes at the moment, right? There's no like major issues or anything. It's just like multiplayer, we didn't expect so many players on our servers. We kept them at 24. People asked us if we could raise the cap a little.
Oh wow!
Which was great, but the servers. I mean, that's what we talked about. If you have a lot of players, they're building a lot of stuff in a lot of different systems. There's a whole bunch of things that have to be simulated. So that's where we're looking into if we can expand that and maybe have. Because the game, of course, works. It's a balancing act where if you have the starter stations, there's asteroid fields out there, and if everybody starts at the same time, they just completely vaporized all those asteroids, so there were no asteroids left to mine, for example.
Yeah, you run into those.
There's stuff like that, like those balance things where we have to make sure that the server even supports a lot more players.
Do asteroids respawn and whatnot? Like after a time, do they respawn?
They do respawn in asteroid fields, so it's fine in starter stations, but they don't respawn in the rings of planets, for example.
Oh damn.
Well, eventually they will once you run out of the amount of cells that we can trace. But you can empty an entire area of asteroids. But I mean, the rings are so big; they're real life scale, so that's never going to happen. But
oh god, that's okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, almost everything in space is real life scale. We did put some planets a little bit closer together because Jupiter is really far.
Right.
Yeah, but I think most of the starter systems are based on the way our own solar system looks. So if you look at the third planet, that's about as far from the sun as the Earth is from the sun.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this game just does a lot right. I really have to commend you guys that it does quite a bit right. Even for a gamer like me that doesn't have a lot of patience. And I find as I get older, I have less patience for games. I think that's one because I'm getting older.
I know that feeling.
but also there are more games. Like remember when we were younger, it's like, well, this is the one game you're gonna have for 2 months.
And you have a lot less time,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
When we started building this game, there were no space sims.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Complete void in around 2010, 2012, that area.
There was nothing. Yeah, I started Space Game Junkie in 2011, and the goal was to go over all the old space games that I hadn't played. Like, because there were a lot.
At some point, there was like a new wave of space.
Well,
games. I think like Star Citizen.
It's Star Citizen.
Had the same idea.
Yeah, Star Citizen showed that for all its faults, Star Citizen showed that there is a want for this. There is a demand.
Yeah.
And even though
I don't really like that game, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we're not the biggest fans of it around here ourselves.
Everything just takes forever.
Oh my god.
We want to like it, but it keeps crashing on us. So
I like it would be great if it would succeed, but like it's not gonna. It's I mean, let's just
from a business point of view, it already has, but
has it though? They're like at one point they're just going to be hemorrhaging money, At one,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable. I mean, it's been sustaining for a while, but it can't sustain forever. It can't. You got to release a damn thing.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
true.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
But we still
Yeah.
want it to succeed because, I mean, it would be cool if it would work.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, in 2010, 2011, there was nothing. And so, yeah, when I started this, I was like, I'm just going to be playing all the old games, and
like freelancer and stuff.
yeah, I'm going to be just covering all these games I didn't play back in the day, like Star Glider and Space Rogue and all these like games I just never played back in the day for some reason. And
Space
then
Invaders.
yeah, and then Star Citizen hit, and then Elite hit, and they both did really well, and people started, and then FTL and Space Pirates and Zombies, and like
Yeah.
you got, and then after those you had a lot of momentum. So now it's now like for like 12, 13 years it was really rough. It was like if you wanted a space game, you had to either find a physical copy of something that came in from Europe, or like maybe Freelancer or iWar 2 or something, like maybe.
I think EVE Online was there though. But
EVE Online was
there.
there. That started in 2003. That's very true.
Yeah.
But like beyond that,
That
like
was the biggest one, I think. Yeah.
for a long time it was like that, and Freelancer were like the big ones, and then you had some like Dark Star 1 and a few others, and Space Rangers came out around this time. There were a lot of but it was, well, like we didn't get a lot of games, and most of them were coming from over where you guys are. Most of them were coming from Europe.
Yeah, from Germany mostly, yeah.
Yeah, Germany and
we
Russia.
also had a lot of Star Wars games and stuff like that, which aren't really like sci-fi games. They're more like fantasy games.
Yeah, like
the prequels had come out, and then you have this whole slew through, I don't know, 2008 or something of Star Wars games that kept coming out.
that's true. That was
Not really space sim games, but yeah.
You had a couple, like Jedi Starfighter, which was, goddamn amazing.
Yeah.
And
And the
oh
other
yeah,
I always liked the pod racing game.
oh yeah, and Hunter brings up Jump to Lightspeed, the MMO the Galaxies expansion. So there were some things, but it was still very lean compared to the decade we'd had before.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing. Yeah, but it's just such a good time to be a space game fan. I mean, your game and all these other games are coming out, and it's great. It's just so great. And I'm glad to see your game is doing well with 100 servers and people are playing it and people are liking it. It's just really great to see. So, what are your next steps? Are we talking DLC? Are we talking fleshing out the content? What are your next steps for this thing?
Well, the first immediate steps are bug fixing for now. We're doing crash because we've seen an increase in players, and there's a couple of crashes reported, and some things that don't really work that well with a lot of players. So we're focusing on that first, and then
we want to improve the new player experience some more. That's something we're always working on, but because a lot of players, if you look at our refund data, most of the people are just like, I don't understand the game.
Oh.
So that's like obviously something we need to fix. So that's one of the things where it's just like, if you're not like already a space game fan or somebody who has already played these kinds of games, it's probably hard to get into because they're like, I don't understand, where's my ship, how do I get to it, how do I fuel it, how do I do all these things. So we have to take it a little bit more slow in some regards, probably. And after that, we don't have any plans for DLC at the moment.
We're also going to have to talk about that with the publisher as well.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't even discussed it with the publisher yet. So.
Oh, that's right. You guys are with Iceberg now. That's right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
We've just discussed that they were happy with the release.
Oh, that's great.
We haven't really discussed any specifics in terms of post-launch DLC, or if we're even going to do DLC or just do large content updates or stuff like that. We have some smaller things planned, just extra additions to the ship editor, some things that people have been asking for years that we're going to put up to community votes and stuff like that. And yeah, we just for the first couple of months we want to focus on just improving what's there, and then we'll look at things to improve the end game and stuff like that. We have some cool plans, but we don't really want to talk about it yet because we might not be able to.
They might still
fulfill those
change.
promises.
That's fair.
That's totally fair.
So I mean, we can say a whole bunch of things, but if they are going to change, and then people are going to be like, "Well, but you said no." So we prefer only to communicate those kind of things when we actually.
We're absolutely certain that they actually get into the game.
That's fair.
Because otherwise,
Yeah.
it's not that far from lying to the customers. So
Right. Let me ask you a random question because our last guest brought this up, and you mentioned refunds. Can you say what percentage of sales have been refunds? Can you say that?
I think it's overall since we started the game, it's around 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think it could be higher or lower depending on a sale or something like that. And it also depends on your type of game. So I believe that if you have a small game like a platform or something, the refunds are usually very low because people know exactly what they're getting into. And as soon as you go into games that have more depth or are very complicated, the refunds go up. And of course, if it's broken or some kind of it doesn't work.
If it crashes or whatever, then of course. But
so we for us, it's usually either the game was not what I expected, or I don't like the game, or I don't understand it. Just one of those three. We get very little refunds for crashes and stuff like that. So
no, that's good because our last guest last week they took a game from the mid '90s and remastered it in Unity, and it's called Iron Seed, and they said their refund rate was about 10%, which I thought, from what I've heard from other developers, is pretty decent. Like it's kind of in line. That's kind of in line with
Steam's average, actually.
Yeah, I've heard it's either in line or below.
Is around. I think Steam's average was around 13% or something.
Yeah. So when they said 10%, I'm like, that's not bad at all. They thought it was. They didn't seem to think it was very good, but I'm like, no, that's pretty good actually.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I've refunded plenty of games which I bought and they weren't exactly what I thought they would be.
Yeah,
and I think that's fine from a customer point of view. I think you can treat it as a demo.
Yeah,
you can just play the game, refund it if you don't like it. So.
But
as long as you don't do it too often, it's okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not refunding like every other game. Yeah.
Yeah, if you refund too many games at once, Steam gives you a message of you've refunded too many games at once. You shouldn't treat them as a demo.
Well, I think that's more on Steam than on. For my perspective,
I don't buy that many games.
Wants to try the game, and
they don't want to have all the chargebacks to deal with.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
but I think even from, I'm not sure how it is in America, but European law, I think, is actually pretty on the customer side. So we should actually always refund. I believe it's even.
America really is never on the customer. America is never really on the customer side. So.
No.
So.
None of the business.
Yeah. Businesses are people. Sorry. Anyway, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
My apologies.
But I think the refunds, you can just look at the data, but it usually shows that if it's a very simple game and it doesn't cost much, there's a very low refund rate. And if it's a very complex game and it costs a lot more, the refund rate will be higher. So,
but even
unless the game's bad, of course. But
even 15, sorry, I was going to say even 15% doesn't sound that bad. That's still 85%.
Yeah,
but that's still 85% of folks keeping your game. I mean, that's
we just see that as us being bad at communication. Like we didn't tell you what the game would be clearly enough, so you're not getting it, and that's our bad. So that's not a thing on the customer. That's just a thing that we don't do very well.
Also, there are some refunds that people have like bought the game, but their system isn't up to specs for the game, and then
some people even buy it for
always
Mac, and then it turns out it doesn't even run on Mac, and then they have to refund it. But I mean,
wait, what? It doesn't say on the game page it runs on Mac. Like it doesn't even mention Mac.
Yeah, don't.
Oh my god! Come on, people. At least look at the damn requirements. It'll tell you on the Steam page if it runs on a Mac. or on Linux. It'll tell you that. You just have to scroll
Well,
down a little bit.
some people also buy it like on their Linux or Mac PC to play it on a different PC later. I mean that also happens. So it's
okay.
not always.
That's fair.
Right.
That's fair. But I'm
even
glad that I'm glad the game is doing well. I'm really glad that you've had a positive experience coming up to 1.0.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It has been a while, but that's fine. I mean, I think a lot of gamers are, excuse my language, entitled fucks, but a lot of gamers are also very patient. And if you're communicative with them and you're showing actual real progress, like what's that one game? Star Sector? I bought that. Yeah. I bought that myself in I think mid 2010. I bought that. It's still in early access. I don't even think it's in beta yet. But he's making something so complex and huge that people are like, take another 5 years, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind waiting for games.
Yeah. There's
eventually complete. So
exactly. There's already so much to play. It's like how could we be impatient? Just play something else while they're working on making this one better. So yeah, 5 or 6 years does not seem like an unreasonable amount of time for an early access period anymore.
No, I think it's mostly because the teams don't really scale up usually during early access unless the game sells extremely well.
Really doing well, yeah.
That's true.
And
that's true.
So your plans are just like, this is what we want to do, and it will take, I don't know, we'll say 2 years, and it will take actually 6 years because that's just what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as you can keep up the development and just are able to deliver on the product, I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, and you guys
communication is a huge thing. I mean, as long as the devs seem to be continually communicating, okay, this is what we got so far, or this is what we just recently added, this is on our roadmap. That communication to the customers is what keeps them loyal.
It's so important. And you guys have done a pretty good job. I mean, you say you can do a few things better, but I think for the most part, you've done a really outstanding job in keeping your fans and potential players up to date with new. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm addicted to Steam news updates. Like, absolutely addicted. Like I love when a game has a lot of news updates. Like, especially when there's a new patch or something. I'm totally addicted to that stuff. And you guys had...
You try to do one for every patch.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. I think that's so important. And you guys did a great job with that.
I'm not sure what the thing is, but I also like just reading patch notes for a game. Just to see.
God,
it
I love
gives you
it.
an impression of what the devs have been working on. Yeah.
Like, have you guys seen that new Steam, the News Hub, the new Steam News Hub? It's one of their like experimental things, but it basically lists all like it basically lists all the news and events for games you own, games you've wishlisted, and whatnot, and you could just one place. Sorry.
I've actually never wishlisted anything on Steam. If I want something, I'll just buy it.
God,
I'm really picky. So.
I have such a huge wish list. But the News Hub...
I've only got like 50 games on Steam.
This new News Hub is so great because it gives you all the news updates in one spot. And so it's like, oh, wow, this game got a patch. And I forgot I own this game. It has a patch. Oh, my God, I have to reinstall it. It's really fantastic. Especially if you're addicted...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, especially with these games these days where they might be silent for like 6 months and then they drop an enormous update, which seems to be a thing that a lot of games do these days.
A lot of them do that. And it's exciting, though. You're like, silence. Huge, major update. You're like, ooh, they've added a whole new continent of things. Let's go in there. Let's reinstall that and go back in there.
That's what we've done for the 1.0 release as well. We've basically stopped patching, only like little fixes, that immediate crashes or whatever. But we stopped patching for like 6 months, I think.
But you
And
told
then,
people you were going to do that. You told people you were going to do that, so it was fine. You like didn't just go off the radar. You didn't just like disappear.
Not like radio silence and we're gone and you'll see
exactly.
us.
So many.
No,
I
we
hate
were
to say
also
it,
still around in our Discord and everything, and
right.
You know,
I hate to say it, but a
still
lot of devs do that. A lot of devs like just radio silence for a while. And
it's actually recommended by Valve.
What?
If you read the notes that they have on how you should update your game and how you should respond to communities, it's their belief that you should not communicate with the community most of the time and just deliver your product when it's done.
I mean, that's Valve.
And deliver your updates when it's done.
I mean, I guess that works for Valve. I guess because that's kind of what they do. I guess that works for them.
So I guess that's what they preach to other developers as well. But I don't think it's the right. Like,
I think Valve is doing that because they don't. They're tired of like being a referee and devs who are like assholes against the communities, and then they get a lot of complaints and stuff.
But they also
tired of dealing with that.
Right?
So they tell everybody like, hey, just don't talk to your community.
That's true.
If it were up to Valve, they would automate everything if it were up to them.
Yeah, they want to be as hands off as possible. They really do seem to be.
Part of that, I can give a little bit of insight since I've been, I've done the dev side work too. They tell you not to engage with the community when they're being negative. That's the main thing. Yeah. The main thing they want you to do is to just
improve the product.
Rather than say get into trolling wars and shitposting wars with the community.
Oh yeah, we don't do that.
Right. And that's what they want to avoid because that's going to just backfire.
Of course it will.
It's like Chris Roberts fighting with Star Citizen fans on his own forums. I mean, it's not a good look if you do that.
Exactly.
I did enjoy it.
I enjoyed it. I'm so busy. I can't bother talking to all of you. So I will, as a contest, answer one of your questions. Just one. It's like,
he's got plenty of money. Just hire some guys to answer.
I mean, there's always a balance to find between transparency and not giving an update on everything that you're doing. Because if you need to update the community on everything, a lot of it is just bug fixes. It's not really interesting. But of course, if there's like changes to the game that players should be aware of, we should always communicate those.
Yeah,
and that could be negative changes. If people are ceasing development, for example, just tell your community. Don't just ride off into the sunset and never tell anybody. If you just explain your reasons, that's always better than just radio silence, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's one game I really like that the developer kind of went silent on for a while. People were like, what the hell? And then he's like, oh God, my mom is sick and I got sick and everything. And we're like, oh, okay, fine. Do what you gotta do, man. Just thanks for letting us know, People are getting upset
Yeah, in the absence of information, people make up their own information.
Right, exactly. Yes.
You want to give them enough information so that they know what's happening, but you don't have to give all the details.
Right. I don't even know why you're sick. Just say you're sick. Okay, do what you gotta do, man. Get healthy. Fix the game whenever. But yeah, no, I'm really happy to see that this game not only launched, but launched well. I've been really enjoying my time with it. It sounds like we're going to be setting up our own server soon. So that's great. Because I think this will do really well with multiplayer. Folks,
you guys like it?
Oh yeah. So folks, the game is Interstellar Rift. It is what's the price on Steam? I don't remember.
I think it's $20. I think.
Yeah, it's $19.99.
I don't know the price in dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, it's $19.99, which for all the content you get in this game is kind of a steal. It's got single player and multiplayer, varied universes, lots to do, from mining to combat to hauling. The only thing it doesn't have is planet stuff. You can walk around your ship. The only thing it doesn't have is planet stuff, and that's fine.
There have been a lot of requests for that.
Why
but we chose not to.
Why?
I don't know, but
we could explain why we didn't do it, and that's because we were afraid that the content that you do on the ships would be the same as the content that you do on the planets.
It would be exactly the same. You'd beam down to a planet, which would be the station that you beam to in space anyway, and it'd just be a waste of your time.
The amount of art assets you need.
Oh my God.
quadruples.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't have
so
every
For not
planet
that
looking the
much
same.
extra.
You can't
And
have
we're
every
just
planet
5
looking.
people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think it's
So-
very important for indie studios like that to just set their boundaries, right? That's when
Oh
you
God.
that's one for me one red flag for when I think a project is not really going to work, when they are like these blue sky ideas that they want to do everything, and like, okay, either everything is going to suck or everything is just going to fall apart. But when a company is honest about what they're going to do and where they think their limitations are, then I have so much more faith in that project.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
it's like a great game designer once said. It's we can do anything, but we can't do everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wasn't that Howard?
It was Todd Howard. I was making,
You had great game designer. What are you talking about?
I was making a sort of roundabout joke, but
So yeah, games, folks. The game is Interstellar Rift. We didn't talk much about ship building because I really haven't done much of it. But you can build your own ships in the game, and also there's workshop support.
Yes.
And there are a lot of ships in the workshop, like a lot, like hundreds and hundreds. Like there's 300
Some of them are pretty
fighters,
outdated.
but there's 300 fighters and 500 miners and 100 cruisers. There's a lot of ships in here.
But you can
And
also
so-
sell your ship in world now.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you can even sell ships to each other in game now, and it's single and multiplayer. It's got like we said earlier, several servers, but you can play by yourself if you want as well. But even if you join a server, you still can play by yourself if you want. So it's up to you whether
Yeah.
you want to actually interact with other actual people or not at any point. But it's like I said, if you're looking for a space trucking game, which is the closest thing to Euro Truck Sim 2 in space, this is pretty much it for now. Like, why no one has made actual Euro Truck Sim 2 in space, I don't know. But for now, this is the closest you will get to Euro Truck Sim 2 in space because the flight is great, the missions are great. There's meta progression with your faction leveling up and whatnot. So there's just a lot going on here, and it's really great. So, folks, I'm not sure what we're going to do for the podcast next week because I've sent out a lot of emails, but I haven't confirmed anything. So I don't know what we're going to do for the podcast next week. But for today's stream later, because we flipped things around, so we're going to do a stream at 4 p.m. Pacific today. We're going to try the multiplayer of Star Wars fucking Squadrons because I have to
Clicks,
give.
right?
I have. What was that?
Nothing.
No, I have to give it a chance. I played single player and I fucking hated it. Excuse my language. Really hated it. But this is clearly a more multiplayer focused game. Clearly. So we're gonna stream that today. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up. But that's what we're gonna stream today at 4 p.m. Pacific. So everyone, gentlemen, first off, thank you for taking time out of your busy day in the middle of the
Thank you
afternoon
for having us.
to talk to us. It's been a pleasure having you back. And folks, we'll see you back here today at 4 p.m. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thank you, as always, to those who subscribe via Patreon and Twitch. I love you all. And with that, we'll see you next time. Have a great day, all. Be safe, be well, and take care of each other. Bye-bye.